Hey. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the meeting of the Cabinet at Staffordshire County Council today, Wednesday, the 15th of January 2025. Item number 1, apologies for absence. Mr Bradbury, do we have apologies for absence?
Good morning, Leader. Yes, just the one apology from Councillor Pritchard.
Item 2, declarations of interest in accordance with Standing Order 16. Any declarations of interest? For the record, nobody's indicating. Item 3, decision notice of the meeting held on the 11th of December 2024. Is it your wish that I sign that off as a correct record of the meeting? That is unanimous. Item number 4, leaders update. Well, here we are in January, ladies and gentlemen, the start of a new year, and one which already looks set to bring us challenges as well as lots of opportunities. I wanted to start today by thanking our highways teams who, whilst many people were celebrating New Year's Eve, were out braving the dark and the strong winds and heavy rain, responding to the challenging winter weather conditions which have continued into the first few weeks of 2025. Despite Mother Nature throwing everything at us in an unhelpful combination of freezing conditions, rain and snow, they have fought to keep our main roads clear and open, using 6,300 tonnes of salt since the start of the year and covering 25,000 miles. That's the same as London to New York, more than 7 times over. Every day and overnight, council teams work hard to do their bit to give the people of Staffordshire the opportunity to prosper, be happy and healthy. I'll just pause for a moment to bring Councillor DeVille in, because he was front and centre of operations for the county highways teams. If you'd like to say a few words, Councillor DeVille.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'd join you, Chairman, in thanking the members of staff. Not only are they out at unknown hours to us, and as you say, in the dark and extreme cold, I'd also like to thank them for the way that they responded and reacted to the storms prior to Christmas, you know, flooding and high winds. And Chairman, also, this week, following the really dreadful weather that we've had, of course, those supplies of salt and grit that you were talking about have depleted considerably. So this week there's been a fantastic effort by our staff in getting out to all parts of the county, refilling the grit bins so that people can help themselves in areas where the gritter doesn't run, designated gritting routes. And they've been out this week and considerably stocked up more remote areas with grit piles and restocked the grit bins. So I join you, Chairman, in thanking our teams for the work that they do, not only during the winter, of course, but all year round.
Well said, hear, hear. Staffordshire's opportunity to prosper, be happy and healthy are hardwired into the Council's vision. But interestingly, they're also reflected in the New Year's resolutions made by many of you. In a recent YouGov poll, people were asked what their resolutions would be for 2025, and in the top 10 were the commitments to save more or spend less, get fit and lose weight, gain new skills and be a better person. Aren't they good New Year's resolutions? There are services provided by the Council that can help with all of these. If you want to get fit, we manage 4 country parks with vast expanses of beautiful green space that you can use to walk, run or cycle for free. If you want to lose weight, we can help with healthy eating habits and exercise programs through a dedicated team of experts at Everyone Health. To gain new skills or kickstart a new career, you can sign up to one of more than 80 courses run by our adult and community learning team and get free expert advice through our Growth Hub. And if you're aspiring to be a better person, whatever this means for you, you could consider our volunteering opportunities or caring for local children through our fostering service. There are many ways you can make a difference for your community, and the 12 local people who were recognised in the King's New Year's Honours were an inspiration to all of us. My congratulations to you all. What's clear is that despite the challenges faced by local government, we make a difference for our communities. As a council, we'll be finalising our budget in the coming months, and years of strong financial management mean that we can keep doing exactly that. We will always do what's in the best interests of the people who live and work here, and I look forward to what the year brings ahead. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we move to agenda item number 5, which is Staffordshire Means Back to Business, report brought to you by the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills, Councillor White.
Thank you very much, Leader. Happy New Year, everybody. So in my first update of the year, I thought I would cover some key updates on some of the most significant projects that the council's been involved in that will mature during the course of 2025. But before I do that, I'll just provide an update on a couple of the key statistics that we monitor very closely as a county council. So the first of those, although above our pay grade as a county council, very important to our businesses, is the welcome news this morning that inflation in the year to December has dropped down from 2.6% to 2.5%. I think it's fair to say that was unexpected, as there have been some inflationary drivers coming into the economy of late, but really welcome news, particularly to anybody who's thinking about renewing their mortgage anytime soon. Secondly, I can provide an update on the most recent universal claimant credit count, which relates to figures for November, as unfortunately the December update is not released by government in time for this meeting. But in November we saw a decrease in Staffordshire of 95 claimants, which means that our percentage of universal credit claimants is stable at 3%. As always, I like to give the context for that. So in the West Midlands region, the rate is 5.7%, so almost double the level of universal credit claimants as in Staffordshire, and the average for the whole of England is 4.3%. Within our figures, we have seen an increase of 70 claimants amongst young people. Our young person universal credit claimant count stands at 5%. Again, the context there is the national rate is 5.6% and the West Midlands rate is 7.6%. So Staffordshire remains a very good place to find a job, and we are very stable as an economy in terms of that. Obviously, for those people who are seeking work, I would highlight our jobs brokerage service, which is there to link them to employers and training packages. Now, moving on to some of the key projects that the County Council is involved in that we expect to develop over the course of this year. The first thing I would like to announce to colleagues is the very welcome news that having been under review by the new government, we have now had confirmation that the successful bid for £20 million of levelling up funding for Stafford for the regeneration of the railway station area has now been confirmed. That's a big relief. It was quite a nervous time whilst we waited to see whether that announcement by the previous government would go ahead, but it is. And that regeneration will see extensive additional housing provided on brownfield land in the centre of Stafford, in addition to extensive employment land and a new car park, amongst other facilities. So that is really welcome news. That successful bid, combined with others that the County Council has either led or supported around the county, now brings the investment into Staffordshire for regeneration projects to £220 million in recent years. So that is an enormous amount of money coming into our county, focused on regeneration of our towns, and that is work that will continue during 2025 to further bring home the investment for our county. Regarding our contribution to the regeneration of Stafford, I can also report that our regeneration scheme for Eastgate continues apace. We're now working with our development partner, Ion Developments, who, if anyone cares to Google them, you'll find have been involved in some wonderful regenerations of towns and cities around the country, is now at the concept stage, which means that we actually have increasingly developed plans for the reuse and in some cases replacement of the buildings on the Eastgate site, and that work will continue apace during 2025. The council's also been very successful in unlocking major employment sites around the county, and I'd particularly like to highlight the Chatterley Valley West site in Newcastle under Lyme Borough, which is expected to generate around 1,700 jobs. Work's been ongoing there for a while now, and I'm pleased to say that from April 2025, the first building will be erected on that site. So we are rapidly moving towards the point where we will have people working within commercial buildings on that site. Further reports to come on that during this year. And finally, I would just like to highlight one of the schemes that the County Council continues to develop, which is investing in our people. So we've talked about investing in our town centres and investing in employment sites. But one of our key schemes is the Ignite programme, developed by this County Council, the first scheme of its kind in the country, and delivered by Staffordshire Chambers of Commerce, which gives college students training in entrepreneurialism, how to start up a business, but more broadly in terms of work readiness and those skills that employers have told us for many years that they want young people to have when they come out of education and into the workplace. The Ignite scheme is now in its 5th year as we head into 2025. Over 25,000 students across Staffordshire have benefited from it, an enormous number of students. And I'm pleased to say that having run a pilot scheme last year for Year 9 students in secondary school, in 2 schools, we'll now be extending that to a further 4 schools. And our aspiration is that in time, all Year 9 students across our county will have the opportunity to benefit from this scheme. Work readiness is so important, but also having a sense of purpose for those school students as they enter their GCSEs in Year 10 is something we're really concerned to achieve, and this does both. So there is my update for today, Leader. Just a small sample of the things we'll be doing over the course of 2025. A lot to do, but I think we're starting the year off well.
Councillor Pert, then Councillor Price.
Thank you, Leader. Good morning, colleagues, and Happy New Year. I wanted to associate with the comments from the Deputy Leader, particularly about employment skills and all the work, the great work that he is doing with his teams. It was particularly in reference to the Stafford Station Gateway confirmation of the funding that was originally awarded by the last government. That is a significant swathe of brownfield land through the county town that has needed some proactive regeneration for many a year. And it comes as a stage 2 of the regeneration following the town centre work that's being done within the county town. And I think eventually we'll really link up and create a real corridor of regeneration. But not only is that brownfield land being regenerated for housing and employment, it's also being regenerated for skills. And come September of this year, Newcastle and Stafford Colleges Group will open the Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent Institute of Technology, which will bring with it businesses who want to benefit from having those further skills that come in between levels 3 to 7. You know, right up to post-degree level. And this will bring businesses with them aplenty. And I think this is just another example of the County Council supporting, creating havens with employment land and bringing businesses into the county, but also skills and employment. And I welcome the work that he is doing. Thank you.
Councillor Price, then Councillor Tagg.
Yeah, thank you. Just to echo some of the words that Councillor Pert has raised, and obviously for the Deputy Leader who has raised this morning as well. Not only am I County Councillor, I'm obviously, or I am, a resident of Stafford as well, and I'm really pleased to see, and has always been the case, that this County Council has had a firm commitment to support the regeneration and expansion of Stafford and Stafford Borough as a whole. So I'm really pleased to see that. The Stafford Station Gateway, of course, is an extra 350 homes, extra 900 homes, 350 car park, which we desperately need as well within the county town. And then that 30,000 square feet of development sites as well for commercial and business. So that's excellent. I know as well that residents of Stafford in particular would have seen a lot of roadworks taking place and have felt some frustration around that. But again, that is showing the full commitment that this council has to residents of Stafford, our beautiful county town, to make sure that we have excellent roads and infrastructure. And despite the frustrations of roadwork, it shows that that work is being done. So I just wanted to thank not only Cabinet, but the council, and particularly the portfolio holder, that Stafford itself is firmly in his eye, and that he is very keen to make sure that we make this a beautiful and a busy place to do business and to live. So thank you all.
Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Leader. Just echo the comments and thank the Leader, Deputy Leader, for his report. I think particularly from the mention of Chatterley Valley, I think a great development for the borough and for the north of Staffordshire. I think I was on the planning committee many years ago when that was first given permission to be a business park and a site for jobs, and it took until the last government invested that money through the Levelling Up Fund to make that reality. We've had a long journey to get there. They've had the issue with the roadworks, etc., taking longer, but I think people will recognise that as a site for jobs and for prosperity for the whole of North Staffordshire, and those 1,700 jobs will be badly needed. And I think it just shows that money that was invested by the previous government, as we've seen across the county and in the borough where I am, we've seen that money being well spent. Over £55 million brought into the borough under levelling up. And I just feel, you know, since the new government's come in, it's no longer talk about levelling up. We seem to be being dragged down in so many ways, almost by any announcement that comes out from the government over the last few months from this new government. But there's that ray of light from that investment in the borough and in the county as a whole, as we've heard, for jobs, for prosperity, and for better lives for people. And I think that's the Chatterley Valley site finally will have, as you say, businesses open there, jobs being created, and that's all good for my borough and for the county as a whole.
Councillor DeVille.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. How refreshing to hear the Deputy Leader's report today. I think it absolutely shows the ambition of this council, and it shows the commitment of this council. That commitment's an ongoing process, and the commitment is to areas that really enrich people's lives, because it spans everything, that report does, Councillor White. It spans regeneration, massively important to the people of Staffordshire. It spans our growth of infrastructure, massively important. It clearly spans and covers job creation and covers skills. And I'm particularly interested to hear all of the work that the team are doing with young people, you know, through encouraging further apprenticeships and particularly encouraging young people and budding entrepreneurs. What a positive report, and thanks for bringing it this morning.
Thank you very much for those comments, colleagues. I'll just attempt to summarise briefly. I think that whatever the weather nationally, in terms of the economy, whether we have a government that wants to invest money in serious projects in Staffordshire, as we've had for the last few years, and we're waiting to see whether we will perhaps have over the next few years, we will continue to do our part, delivering the things that we can deliver ourselves directly, working with partners more often than not, both in the private and the public sector, and trying to innovate as well with things like the Ignite programme, to do what's best for Staffordshire residents. And for most people, most of the time, the best thing that they can have happening in their life is having a good job that is going somewhere. And all of this work, if you knit it all together, it's all about creating the conditions where that can happen and playing our part in that. And we are very strongly committed to continuing with that.
Thank you. Agenda item number 6 is Modern Methods of Construction Framework Agreement, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources, Councillor Parry.
Good morning, everyone. This is a request, a permission request for Cabinet approval to authorise a full procurement process to secure and manage the framework agreement for modern construction methods, which will commence later this year from the 1st of November 2025 and will be for a 4-year period, so that this will be delegated to the Director of Corporate Services. In fact, what this means is that the constructors on this framework will be those that are servicing our County Council school projects, either through expansions of schools, alterations or refurbishments. And this means, therefore, that those schools will be getting the best high-quality construction services that will help, our intention is to help to create bright, creative and welcoming spaces for good teaching and learning. The value of the framework overall is around £45 million over the period, but we expect the spend within that to be around 20 million, and the majority of those will be, as we said, to service county school projects. It's possible that more than one provider will be awarded a single value contract of around 2 million threshold, and it's therefore possible that over the full term of the framework agreement, more than one provider may accrue a total work in excess of this threshold. So, Leader, before I move on to the recommendations, I'll just pause for any questions.
Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Leader. Really welcome under the climate change implication that there is flexibility being given here. Obviously, we have the ISO accreditations on various environmental policies, which is quite right, but there is that flexibility here for businesses that haven't achieved that yet or are in the process of doing it to actually provide evidence that they've got the policies within their businesses to meet some of those priorities, such as waste management, energy management, carbon reduction, and the recycling and reuse. So I'm really pleased in that flexibility. I think we've always had an approach when we approach our carbon reduction aims and also our environmental policies is that we take people along with us. We take it stage by stage. I think this gives contractors the opportunity to bid if they haven't gone through some of those more onerous environmental accreditations. But if they can prove to us through their policies that they're achieving that, I think that's all well and good. Thank you.
Councillor Parry, back with you.
So there is an expectation that those areas around sustainable materials, waste management, energy management, carbon reduction are part of the approval process. So, if I may then, Lead, I'll move to the recommendations, which are that I recommend to Cabinet that it A, approves undertaking a procurement exercise for the modern methods of construction framework agreement, and B, following the conclusion of the procurement, Cabinet delegates authority to the Director of Corporate Services to approve 1, award the framework agreement and subsequent call-off contracts to the successful tenderers, and 2, the 1-year extension to the framework agreement in accordance with the terms of the framework agreement, if applicable. I move.
All those in favour? For the record, that is unanimous. I move forward to agenda item number 7, which is the forward plan of key decisions. The following items all take place on the 19th of February in public. Integrated Performance Report, Quarter 3, 24-25, brought to you by myself. Stafford and Stoke-on-Trent Joint Strategic Transport Statement, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Strategic Highways, Councillor DeVille. Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent Joint Economic Strategy, brought to you by the Deputy Leader of the Council and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills, Councillor White. And the Capital Programme for Schools, 25-26, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Education and SEND, Jonathan Price. The following take place on the 19th of March in public. Climate Change Action Plan Revision, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Environment, Infrastructure and Climate Change, Councillor Tagg. Highways and Transport Capital Programme 25-26, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Strategic Highways, Councillor DeVille. In private in March, contract award of the Local Authority Social Care Case Management System, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Children and Young People, Councillor Sutton, and the Cabinet Member for Health and Care, Councillor Pert. Also in private, Staffordshire Warmer Homes, approval of the spend plans for the Warmer Homes local grants, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Health and Care, Cabinet Member for Environment, Infrastructure and Climate Change, Councillor Tagg. And then moving forward to April in public, Integrated Performance Report, Quarter 4, 24-25, brought to you by myself. Data and Insight Strategy, brought to you by the Leader of the Council, myself, and Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources, Councillor Parry. Community Learning Accountability Statement and Agreement 25-26, brought to you by the Deputy Leader of the Council and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills, Councillor White. And then in private in April, Unregulated Placement Update, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Children and Young People, Councillor Sutton. And then moving forward into June, which will be after the elections, Traffic and Network Management Plan, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Strategic Highways. That is the forward plan of key decisions. Moving forward then to agenda item number 8, which is the exclusion of the public. I move that the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business which involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in the paragraphs of Part 1 of Schedule 12A as amended of the Local Government Act 1972 indicated below.